The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Friday in the Ribbon. Like, as usual, we have a plethora of things to talk about. And I don't know, CJ, and I know we got a lot, and we really got to get to this thing that Councilor Dionne put in. But I think you should bring the... Our, oh, yeah, well, there you go. Good thing I got a loud voice. I'm probably doing it. I'm in such a hurry here. We got so much material we can't cover it. But maybe you should, our loyal viewers, maybe you should give them, since you attended that meeting on the corridor.
Oh yes.
I think
we were just talking about that before you came in.
I really believe that this is something that since we're going to blow $7 million taking care of our rich friends, that on a state project that they would have done the same thing, but not to the degree we're going to do it with our taxpayer money, because we have to make it look really good for all our rich friends who own all the property down there near the Davol Corridor. Why don't you give us a little insight to that meeting? Because I know you attended that meeting, and it was a Freudian slip, but I completely spaced it out.
Well, it was an online meeting. Obviously, it was run by Zoom, and it was very disjointed with the way they were handling it, because they say you got to put your hand up to be recognized, and they'll call on you to speak, and or you could put your question into the Q&A section. I put my question into the Q&A section, and I asked, why is $7 million of ARPA money being used on this state and federally funded project? And the project director came back and said, well, the reason why there's an additional $7 million being used is because the city wants special lights and special benches along that corridor, and they got to do some work for the CSO project, which has to come in before they do the roads. Otherwise, they'll be digging the road up again.
So I guess sewer and water fees don't cover anything like that, right?
Well, that was my other question. Are we going to get another allotment for sewer and water to do the CSO project underneath Davol Street? It was very, informative. You saw a lot. But as I heard today,
was it information or misinformation? Because I find it difficult to reconcile the fact that we wanted special benches and lighting, because who owns all that property along there? We all know who owns the old Jerry Remy's and the apartments that are in there. We all know that they did special road construction down there.
That's right.
How many more special things are these rich people going to get at the expense of the people that can't pay their rents, can't afford food? This is disturbing. Again, this is this administration earmarking money for all his rich banker, lawyer, developer friends, because we need special benches for them. $7 million. What are we going to have? Are we going to have massage benches? Are we going to have lights that you can turn on and tan while you're sitting in the massage bench?
Golden laden benches.
$7 million.
Yep.
That on a project that the state was going to put benches and lighting in anyway.
But they were going to put in their approved state lighting.
And that's not good enough for our rich friends.
That's not good enough for Fall River.
No. It's good enough for Fall River. The regular, the average.
Me and you.
Fall River people.
Right.
If you're going to put your butt on a bench, it doesn't have to be a $7 million bench. They got benches like this all over the state. The state puts in these benches all the time. But we have to have special benches for the special people who own those special properties who have already had special treatment. You remember what happened at Davol Street?
Yes, I do.
When they prioritized that area for paving above all the poor streets in the city of Fall River. Because this again is our mayor taking care of his friends at our expense. This is unacceptable. I'm sorry, but please continue.
No,
since you had to suffer through this, we got to give you an extra a bonus.
It was only an hour long. I mean, and what was funny was our station manager Keith was also in the meeting. I just found out it was him that was in the meeting. They were calling on him, and he never raised his hand either. So it was rather interesting. But there's plus or minus 19 acres of land, which is what we've heard consistently.
Oh, plus or minus.
Plus or minus 19 acres of land that will be made available for development. Now, one of our other TV show hosts said that he heard, okay, so this is an allegation. He had heard that 19 acres of land is going to be purchased by one developer. One developer is going to purchase that 19 acres of land.
Yeah, and is it going to be a bid process or anything? We don't know.
Well,
that.
you know, the thing is that it's the redevelopment authority has a lot of latitude in what they can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even more with 3A.
Exactly. And so with all that latitude that they have, because they don't have to put things out to bid. Unlike the city, they don't have to put things out to bid. So the redevelopment authority is going to acquire that property.
Okay, let me put my Karnak the Magnificent hat on. And I'm going to guess, and I am a betting man because I do go to Vegas and used to go quite often, but now I only go occasionally.
Although Carlos didn't consult you for his next trip.
That's right. And I could have got it for him cheaper. But the reality is that you're right. My Karnak the Magnificent vibe is telling me that that it's going to be some of the same people that get everything in the city of Fall River. Because Fall River's not open for business, it's for sale. And only the people who fit get to play in the playpen. And we know that.
Oh, we've seen it all the time.
Again and again, when you talk that number, it's like deja vu, as Yogi Berra once said, deja vu all over again. Plus or minus. These numbers are only for discussion purposes.
Right.
These numbers are only approximations. The question is now, can Fall River ever give us a number that says this is how much it's going to cost, or this is how much it is, this is how much we're looking at?
This is how much we're taking from you?
They can figure how much they're taking. They can't tell us.
They can't tell
how
us
much they're taking and for what reason.
Right.
But they can sure as hell get it to the penny. Your tax bill, if you don't pay it to the penny, you are going to get a letter saying you are in arrears. But believe me,
with interest.
But they cannot, even though they have a fiduciary responsibility to do this, they never give you an accurate number. And, you know, like I said, there will be complaints about this during budget time because we're, you know, again, we're dealing with this and getting numbers that are approximations, not on our tax bills, and there are complaints being filed. So,
well, that's.
And I heard one of our other citizens activists was down there. And
Nelson was there.
And he kind of turned the heat up a little bit on him.
And they shut him off.
And what did they say? Just like they said to Mary Feidelberg at the MBTA, well, we got to move on. We got to move on. You're asking the wrong questions.
That's right.
You're asking the wrong questions. Shut up and go away.
It is. It's
so
very
continue about that meeting. It was because it's very interesting.
It had very nice graphics.
Of course, it's our money.
Yeah, they had very nice graphics. They had an email address to get more information. If you went to the meeting, you were automatically added to their email list.
Yeah, which I don't mind. Or more misinformation.
Could be a lot of misinformation too. But one thing that did come out of it is Route 79 is closing immediately.
Oh, they're already working down there. I came in yesterday from Somerset. I went over to Somerset to pick up something from the vet, and I came back, and they're already cordoning everything off.
Yes, they are.
They're already putting up the cut, and they didn't tell anybody.
No, they did. They told us on Wednesday.
Oh,
night.
they told you?
Yeah, they told me because
Yeah.
I was there.
Well, I had to tell my daughter, who has to drives over the Veterans Bridge every day to go to work,
Yep.
and
And that's going to be a cluster.
And she went, "What?
That's going to
You
be a
mean
cluster.
I have to go over to Braga every day?" And a Braga, sometimes can be a nightmare.
Yes.
Yeah, but hey, again, who cares? The rich people don't care. They can take a helicopter in.
Well, she can still use Davol Street. Okay. The only thing is, it's going to be down to one lane on each side, and
Oh yeah, that shouldn't be too difficult for traffic, right?
And-
At rush hour.
exactly. And parts of the on ramps to the old Route 79 are still going to be closed off, so you're not going to be able to use 79, the old 79, to come in. I believe at the point where you have to make a choice between the Veterans Bridge or go down 79. I think you're going to have to go off over there and down to the Wall Street.
I foresee accidents, road rage, all kinds, traffic jams,
Yeah.
a total circus
Right.
again. Because if the same people who handled Durfee traffic pattern, which is still a screwed up mess, even though now they got 2 lanes to the right. Is there anybody that works there that has a functioning brain? It's okay to say, okay, instead of 1 lane to take a right, we'll make it 2 lanes. But I guess they never saw those lanes that you can go straight or to the right. Because now what happens is, at certain times of the day when Durfee's getting in and out, nobody will get in that middle lane that's going straight ahead. So the traffic going down President Avenue heading west is backed up to the Rotary because it's a single lane.
Right.
And that's where the majority of a lot of traffic is going down there, but nobody cares about that. All they care about is their precious little building and getting everybody there. And they still continue, and they still got that little tiny lane like this wide, a bicycle lane, no breakdown lane. So you actually have to violate the traffic laws when you drive down Ellsbury Street at that time, because they all park in that bicycle lane to pick up their kids, and half of their car is in the lane that you have to go down.
That's right.
So you have to go across a double line in order to go by them.
That's right.
So it is a monument to their total incompetency. They still haven't fixed that thing.
I agree. I agree. No argument.
And now they're going to do this on a major scale.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about one of the busiest areas. I mean, even now with the Veterans Bridge, if you go down there at rush hour, it's tough.
Yeah.
Traffic is tough getting over that bridge.
Especially if the bridge opens.
Yeah. Oh, forget about it.
Forget it.
But I mean, even now, you go down there with work traffic and stuff like that, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Now they're going to have detours and stuff like that. It's going to be a circus.
Right.
But
right.
hey, small price to pay for the richies to get richer.
Yeah.
And when it's all done and they got those beautiful benches 2 years before the train ever shows up, just to improve their property values with the massage benches and the tanning lights that they're going to put in, they're not going to care. Let them eat cake. Let the poor people eat cake. Don't worry about it. That's the attitude. And you went to that meeting and watched, and nobody wants to hear any tough questions. Tough questions.
That $7 million question was a tough one for them, and then Nelson made sure that he stuck it right up their backside.
And what did they do to him?
They cut him off.
Be gone, peasant.
That's it. Be gone, peasant. Which was very interesting. So, now just to change from that a little bit. Oh, and that project's supposed to end in 2026.
Yeah. And what is it now?
2023.
3 years. It's going to be a circus.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's if they get it done right.
And that's how long did they say it was going to take to paint the Braga Bridge? And it took 10 years.
Right. Exactly.
The state and the city government are working on a project. Don't count on it being done in 26, maybe 36.
Maybe.
But not 26. I'm sorry.
Before we get on to the new legislation that was filed, last night the ZBA, and you know how much I love the ZBA.
Oh, I know. It's one of your favorite.
They have a new chairman, Joe Pereira, and what's very interesting is this was a reason they gave for denying a variance. Pereira said the board can only grant such variances if there is a hardship related to soil, shape of the property, topographic conditions, or the like. I've been saying this for how long?
Forever?
When they grant variances, no parking, this, that, and the other thing. But they're doing it, and what's this for? It's for that castle on the hill.
Yep.
A gentleman by the name of Fang and Tang. I think I got that name right.
I hope it's not the same guys that used to own the mill on Kilburn Street.
No.
Because we had a couple of those guys that let that mill go derelict, and every time we tried to catch them to cite them, they were in China.
Yep. Austin Fang and Roy Tang. They have a building, 7 bedrooms, up on Highland Avenue. You must know the building, Chip.
Yeah.
The castle on the hill at 503 Highland Avenue. And they wanted to list it as an Airbnb. And they've been renting it out as an Airbnb for the past year.
Without a license?
Without the license, without approval. And according to Joe Pereira, they violated 40A. And as such, they should have known better. They should have done this the right way. Frank has been renting the home on Airbnb for a year before being ordered by the city building inspector to seek a variance. Sahadi added, did it not dawn on you that you needed to have this done before you operated?
Well, you know that they don't care, so
Right.
obviously that's. But continue with that.
So their position is that costs them $51,000 a month to maintain that building. Okay, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that is not finance is not a reason to grant the variance. Now, Mr. Fang turned around and said, Fall River is not involved in welcoming Airbnb. We do have a slogan, make it here, Jaisal Correa. Can we make it here? So, but I must give Mr. Pereira and the Zoning Board of Appeals credit. You know where you're supposed to grant variances. Please stop granting variances for failing to have sufficient parking for these projects. Stop granting variances just because people don't want to follow the law. Stop granting variances for no setbacks, no, property line setbacks, nothing. Come on. Represent the people and the laws of this city, not the developers, and definitely not the economic development people.
You know, CJ, you've been very, I don't know, are you taking happy pills lately? You've been very good at giving these, I'm going to give them credit. You're giving a lot of credit. And
Well, until they turn around and don't do it
well,
right.
I'm not going to give them credit until I see them not grant a variance to somebody that's connected.
Right.
Because we know that's always been the case. If you grease the right palms, you know the right people, you could build something a half inch away from the other property line and it'll
Right.
grant you a variance for no good reason except you know the right people. Now, if they apply this standard to everyone, then I will give them credit. Now, the only thing is, probably the reason they've become so judicious in their execution of the law is because they know on the property they really covet, the Davol Corridor, 3A is going to absolve them of asking
Anything.
anybody.
Correct.
So those properties that they really want and they've been looking at for the 20 years and they finally got their mitts on, none of this applies.
Right.
Because we know that Fiola will say, hey, we don't have to ask for anything. We just give it to whoever we want, and they can do whatever they want. And damn the taxpayers and damn the city of Fall River. And when that happens, we will be here to remind you all.
That's right.
And when they shoot down something from one of the people that's in the power structure of this city, when they don't give certain people a variance because they're applying the law uniformly, then I will give them credit.
Oh, I agree. But I had to give him credit for that meeting last night.
I told you, you've been taking happy pills.
I've got to be.
Okay.
I've got to be. You know what it is?
What?
I didn't get my coffee this morning.
Okay.
My
see?
mind is cloudy.
That's right. You haven't cleared it up yet. Okay. But before you get on this
Yep.
law, we just got to mention, because we got something in today, but we already, there is a $50 million lawsuit that's been
yeah.
filed. So I believe a lot
That
of
is in
people...
the Hardin case.
The Hardin case,
Yep.
and they're alleging unjustified, unlawful, and unnecessary killing, and it's for $50 million. And it's addressed to the city's mayor, police chief, corporation counsel, city clerk, et cetera, et cetera. It's one of those,
Yep.
it's one of those ubiquitous lawsuits that they name everybody, and they try to get a lot of money, but they really, they'll
Right.
settle.
Exactly.
So now, without further ado, we're gonna let everybody know here on Spindle City Straight Talk of something submitted by our Counselor of the People,
Michelle
Dionne, for the people, and she deserves great credit for doing something like this. We hear a lot of jaw flapping at the council,
Right.
and a lot of spending of money with no regard for the people, but this is for the people. Go ahead, CJ.
Right. So she created, with the assistance of State Representative Alan Silvia, an act relative to public safety employee retention in gateway municipalities. Imagine that, retention of public safety employees.
Finally, they used the gateway label for something for the people.
Right, exactly. Chapter 41 of the general laws is hereby amended by inserting after section 108P the following section, 108Q. A, for the purposes of this section, the following words shall, unless the context requires otherwise, have the following meanings. Gateway municipality, a municipality with a population greater than 35,000 and less than 250,000, with a median household income below the Commonwealth's average, and a rate of educational attainment of a bachelor's degree or above that is below the Commonwealth's average. Public Safety Department, a functional division of gateway municipality that provides firefighting, law enforcement, ambulance, medical, or other emergency services. Secretary, the Secretary of Public Safety. B, there is hereby established a public safety employee retention program for offering grants for improvements to public safety departments in gateway municipalities that offer retention incentive for their employees. There's right now a question of 15 more police officers leaving the city of Fall River.
Yep.
Okay?
And isn't this a staggering indictment of our mayor?
Yep.
3 years he's watched this department unravel, and a city councilor has to step up to the plate. So continue.
Well, a public safety department in a gateway municipality shall be eligible for a grant pursuant to this section if it offers any of the following incentives to the employees. 1, competitive wages. 2, regular cost of living adjustments to wages. 3, retention bonuses. 4, lateral hiring incentives. 5, optional training in addition to trainings required by law. Any other retention incentives approved by the Secretary. The amount of any grant awarded pursuant to this section shall be proportional to the number of qualifying retention incentives listed in subsection C. Grant monies awarded to the public safety departments and gateway municipalities pursuant to this section may be used for improvements to public safety department facilities, the purchase of equipment for use by public safety department employees, the employment of additional public safety department employees, or any other purpose approved by the Secretary. This is where I have a problem. This is where I have a problem. I don't believe that we should be using this type of grant money for the purchase of equipment, okay? The improvement of public safety facilities. The city doesn't maintain its own buildings now,
You're right.
okay?
And I do disagree with that section. But, the thing is that the problem, you need something. And the thing is that these things are going to, as you said, be weighed between what their dynamic is on the rest of the, you cannot begin to subsidize things they should have been paying for. See, this gets them out of the fact that now they're all going to forget the question of why are these people having to pay for their own training when they didn't before.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, the state's going to subsidize that. That should have been an operational cost, and always was an operational cost of the police department, sending people to the academy. And this is a great, and I mean, obviously there's issues. I don't believe it should be done strictly for personnel. This thing should be earmarked strictly for personnel. But we all know that these things are all subject to tweaking and stuff. But, and there's always an out for them, because you look at the last line.
Any other purpose approved by the secretary.
That gives them a carte blanche.
Exactly.
It always does.
Right.
And it has to be approved by the secretary.
Right.
So all these things are contingent again, and it sounds great. Hopefully it will be moved forward. And nice job, Michelle, and I'm sure that Representative Silvia, as a former police officer, had this written up in the State House, so it would be done, correctly for the final bill. And, kudos to you for doing the mayor's job. You should get a bonus because, at least you got a plan. And the thing is, at least you're putting something forth to help the city, to help our public safety sector, rather than saying, I don't want to go see your house with a bullet in it. And by the way, CJ and I are talking about opening up a new real estate business. We might go get our licenses again or something, and we're going to open up Bullet Hole Realty.
There you go.
So we're going to sell all the houses with bullet holes. No, we're only kidding. I was being facetious. Don't worry. But before we wrap up, because we've got about 3 minutes left.
Well, before you go anywhere on that.
Yeah. You want to talk about Bullet Hole Realty?
Nope. No.
Okay.
City Councilor Chris Peckham came out with a video.
Yeah.
Or former City Councilor Chris Peckham. With the mayor saying, we can't keep police officers because it's no longer an honorable profession. And it stops there and immediately cuts to Chris Peckham, and he says, I must disagree. The police department is a very honorable profession. And he defended, and he said, I will always defend the former police department.
Yeah. And look, but again, we know that Paul Coogan says anything that comes into his brain or the reasonable facsimile he has for one. Just because you got a bullet hole in your house and there's been 100 newspaper articles and news stories about bullets flying over the city, that doesn't mean there's bullets flying all over the city. But I was watching something, and they were talking about some scholarly papers about the markers of civilizational decline. What destroys a civilization and thereby a city or a country? These are the top. There's a whole bunch of them. There are like 18. But these were the 4 top in one of the studies. And let's see how many Fall River can check the boxes. Number 1, high crime.
Check.
Number 1 in the state. Number 2, bad schools.
Check.
335 out of 351. Drugs.
Check.
Low social cohesion, and for the people who don't understand that sociological term, it means that our population is just not together. We're not unified. There's no pride in the city. There's a malaise. Guess what, people?
Check.
And you know what it results in? High poverty rate. We have one of the highest poverty rates in the state. So guess what? Under the tutelage and lack of leadership of our mayor, we have succeeded in careening down the pathway to a civilizational decline. And thank you for that.
Well, and this only comes from a credible.
These are papers
sources,
from scholarly sources. You can go online and just type in civilizational decline. You'll see hundreds of articles about these.
Not that they're
credible.
No, of course not. But it's very interesting to see, and I'm like you. I must applaud City Councilor Michelle Dionne. She's the only one that really argues for the people and argues for what is right. And this shows that she supports our public safety officers.
Yes, absolutely.
This proves that she supports them. I didn't hear any other city councilor come out with this, so think about that when you go to the polls this year.
More money for parades.
Yeah,
wait a minute, that's Paul. Okay.
That's right, more money for parades. Well, I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. You have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.